Welcome to the Hockey Writers Flames Faceoff, a weekly show with our top Calgary Flames writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything that happens with the Flaming Sea. So get set, get focused. It's time for the Flames Faceoff. Flames Faceoff.
Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Quinney, and this is the Flames Faceoff, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. Now, this week's show is brought to you by the Morning Skate, and that's a daily newsletter, and it's delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday, and it's just jam-packed with some of the best hockey stuff in the world. And it's a daily dose of the latest NHL news, rumors, history, funnies, quizzes, all kinds of trivia. I love it, and it's just a little hockey fun. That's an information brought to you every day of the week from the Hockey Writers. And now to get it, you have to be a subscriber. So what you can do is just Google the Hockey Writers Morning Skate and sign up there. Get yourself signed up. So on our panel today, we have a full house. We've got Mr. Greg Tysowski, Colton Pankiw, and Brett Krauss. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you back. How's everybody?
Doing well.
Doing good.
Yeah, ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, look, let's do a quick one good, one bad this week. And I'm going to start. So my good, I'm going to name Johnny Gaudreau. Now, this is a bit dated. He won the NHL's third star of the week last week. Now, that was announced Monday, but he tallied 2 goals and 6 assists for a total of 8 points over the week. He's on fire, and he continued that last week and got the recognition that he deserved. My one bad is Theo Fleury. I'm fed up with his insane rants on Twitter in favor of the so-called Freedom Convoy, which has actually become an occupying force here in Ottawa. A gang of essentially lawless thugs have taken over the downtown part of the city. Theo's all in favor of that. Just check his Twitter feed out. Now, his rants this week on Twitter, that follows on a Fox News interview that he gave the week before, where he characterized this as nothing less than a revolution in Canada. There'd be 1.4 million people on Parliament Hill protesting and 50,000 truckers. Now, Theo, just check your facts before you take the Twitter on this stuff, because there's only 1 million people that live in Ottawa. So that's about 500,000 more people you projected to be part of this protest and actually live in Ottawa. And all of that follows on a rebuke that he got from Brandon University. They gave him an honorary doctorate, and because of his anti-vax COVID vaccine rantings, they said his statements were reprehensible and a stain on his legacy. So here's the thing, Theo. If I wanted an informed opinion on a political matter or a public health policy matter, I wouldn't go to get it from someone who shot a puck for a living. So, my friend, you're off base, you're ill-informed. Everything you said about vaccines and the so-called Freedom Convoy is absolute lunacy. You're an embarrassment to hockey. You're an embarrassment to the Calgary Flames. And I wish you'd just stay in your lane. So that's my rant, gentlemen. Colton, I'm going to turn to you. Good and a bad. I'm sure I'll be hearing about the rant.
Yeah, so I was going to say a bit of a change of pace, I guess. But for my good, I have just since there wasn't much going on with the Flames this week, I went to a prospect in Rory Kearns. He's playing really well as of late and just all season. He's got 26 goals and 71 points in 41 games, and he's just looking like a really good late round choice from the Flames right now. And then in terms of bad, I just have the All-Star game, and just with Gaudreau being the lone representative, I would have liked to have seen a couple more Flames there, whether it's Tkachuk, Lindholm, Markstrom, and Net. I think they've had a lot of guys that have had really good seasons, so I would have liked to see 1 or 2 more there.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to the All-Star game. Glad you mentioned that. Greg, what's your good? What's your bad this week?
Well, my good and bad is the same player because my good is finally seeing Dan Vladar sighting. Like he's been on the shelf. He's been riding the pine. He's been tucked away in a closet with the door locked. Like I don't know what it's going to take to get this guy to play a game. The previous week, the Flames had 3 games in 4 nights, and they still played Markstrom in all 3 of them. And then this past week, they had back-to-backs, and I was sure that Vladar would get the start in Arizona, and he didn't. And somehow they trot him out for the 3rd period when the Flames were down 3-1, and I wasn't sure what the deal was on that, whether they had given up or something. But Vladar played well. The Flames had this epic comeback, and I still don't know when he's going to start again because like Sutter has been known to ride his goalies, and so my one good is he actually got to play 1 period. As one bad is like, when's he going to get some more starts? Because I know this Markstrom's a good goalie, but I don't think he's a workhorse. I don't think he's that 65, 70 game a year guy. I think he has to get rested. So that's kind of the whole thing on Markstrom is I think he needs more rest than your average goalie. So that's what I got for one good and one bad.
All right, Brett, give us a good, give us a bad for the week.
So yeah, my good this week, I'm going to give it to the Flames as a team for their comeback win in Dallas. It was kind of a snoozer of a game for the most part, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like those 2015 Bob Hartley Flames all over again. They made a miraculous comeback there, and which was good to see. I think I can't remember saves I think he made in Dallas. I think he should have at least played Arizona anyway the next night because Markstrom didn't quite look that great against Arizona. I thought he let in a couple soft ones. So, I'd like to see Vladar get a little bit more play because, like Greg said, I don't think Markstrom is that workhorse that Darryl always kind of uses his number 1 starter as.
Well, we're going to have to put a missing goaltender poster out for him in Calgary. Have you seen this goaltender? If so, please call. Well, let's talk about, now that you mentioned that, Brett, let's talk about the 2 games. I think you're right. The Dallas game was the more interesting one. That was a big comeback. They won 4-3 Tuesday night. Then they rolled over the Arizona Coyotes 4-2. So they're sitting now just after the All-Star break. I guess they fire it up next week, Monday, if I'm not mistaken. But they're 22-13-6 and a points percentage of .619. Not bad because many people at the start of the season were questioning whether they'd actually make the playoffs. So they've got the 2nd best points percentage in the Pacific Division, and they've got a narrow lead for a wild card spot in the playoffs. I think they're gonna secure a playoff spot. They won't have to worry about the wild cards. And I say that because they've got 6 games in hand on the 3rd place Anaheim Ducks. So what do you think in the comeback that we saw against Dallas? They were down 3-1 after 40 minutes. Is that the Flames' true character, or at least the one Sutter's trying to build? I mean, they haven't got many instances where they came from behind. Colton, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a really good sign, given we were talking on here, I don't know if it was a month or so ago, about how kind of last season seemed to be creeping back into their play a bit, where it seemed like they were maybe unmotivated and kind of just lacking emotion. And Sutter had called them out for that. And since then, they've really turned things around. So I think just having that really good coach behind the bench that isn't afraid to call those guys out and really has a good message is a good sign for them. And I think for the rest of the season, I maybe not playing as well as they have as of late, because like I said, they've been fantastic, but I think this effort level is something that we can expect. And I agree with what you said. I do think that they'll secure a playoff spot and be one of the top 3 teams in the division by the end of the season.
Yeah. Greg, you feeling good about their character that was on display with that Dallas comeback? Is it the real deal here, or?
I hope they've turned the corner because I guess they've been down heading into the 3rd period 10 times previous, and they lost 9 of them in regulation and lost 1 of those in overtime. So they hadn't had a comeback win like this all season long. So this was the first, and I was happy to see it because they need these kind of wins to kind of keep momentum going. Like they've won 5 of their past 6, which is pretty good after that real kind of crappy stretch where I think they were 3-7 in the previous 10 before that. So I think this is which is trending the right way. And, they have 6 games, like you said, on Anaheim. I think they have like 5, or I think on the Kings as well. Like, I have a funny feeling that these California teams who weren't supposed to be very good are not going to be very good. I think, we've seen San Jose fall off a bit, and I think that Anaheim and Kings will fall off. And I think Daryl Sutter is right. I still think he thought it was going to be the Oilers and the Golden Knights in the top two, and that could happen. The Oilers, coincidentally, are also playing pretty good hockey. Haven't lost many games in the last 5 or 6 either. So I think it's going to be a real battle for those 3, and I think the Flames will be one of those 3. And I think those California teams are all going to just fall away.
Yeah. Brett, your take on that comeback win, and I don't know, who do you worry about the most? I mean, the Oilers, they seem to be back now. Are they the team that the Flames have got to worry about?
Yeah, I think, kind of looking on comeback wins, the Flames, their biggest struggle has been finishing, because they, I think in the game against Arizona, the shots were like 26-8 after the first period, but it was 1-1 or 2-1. So their biggest problem is finishing, and I think that kind of finally culminated in that game against Dallas, because they finally got some goals. And when they're down, I've noticed their third periods, they usually outshoot the other team. They just can't find a goal to make those comebacks. So I think definitely, I'm kind of looking at it right now. I think if the Oilers continue going the way they will, and the Golden Knights are going to be getting Jack Eichel here in a month or so, and I mean, they're already playing well. So yeah, I think it's going to be those 3 teams in the top 3 in the Pacific. I think one of Anaheim or LA has a chance to make the playoffs, but again, they've got 5 to 7 games in hand on the Flames, so the Flames have lots of time to catch up there.
Yeah. Well, hey, this month is, I guess, where they're going to do it, because all the games that they have in hand, a lot of them will be played this month. Well, listen, it's the midpoint of the season, so really quickly, give me your biggest pleasant surprise, and your biggest disappointment at this halfway point in the season. Colton, start us off on that one.
I would say my most pleasant surprise would be Shillington. I think just going into the season, it really didn't seem like he was going to have a role or a future with the team, and now he's playing big minutes. He's been their best offensive defenseman this season, and I think is proving that he's here to stay for the long term. I think they'll get him signed up between now and some point in the summer. And I would say most disappointing would be maybe Nikita Zadorov. I don't know how high exactly expectations were for him from most fans in the summer, but I think he proved over time with Colorado and even in Chicago that he was capable of being a top 6 defender that I think could be really physical. And as far as I knew, I just wasn't aware of the lack of foot speed, and I think that's been a huge issue at times in Calgary. And I know he's had spurts where he's played better, but I think he's been really inconsistent. And so I think right now he'd be my one, but I am hoping he can get better over the second half.
Yeah. Greg, your biggest disappointment, big and most pleasant surprise at the halfway mark?
Well, I think everyone's surprise has to be Shillington, because there was no guarantee that he was going to be on this team, because there's no guarantee he'd get a spot out of training camp, which he didn't. And, he had to survive, waivers if he was going to be sent down. And it was kind of a big question mark about this would be like a kind of a make or break year. And I'm still in shock that he's become the Flames' best, defensive, point getter on the entire team this year. And he had that dramatic goal to win in Dallas. That was a fantastic play when he came out of the box. So he's been by far my biggest pleasant surprise. And my biggest disappointment is I would say Dylan Dubé, because I think this is a guy who was supposed to take the next step. He was kind of on the Andrew Mangiapane kind of track, he spent a lot of time in the AHL, and they didn't really rush Dubé, to the NHL. And he's had a few years to kind of establish himself and they've tried him at center, that wing, and nothing seems to be working. He's not putting up the points that he should be, that he's capable of. It's funny. Everyone, I think, in their mind has this Dylan Dubé as captain of the World Juniors or something, like he's as this kind of impact player, but he's not an impact player for the Flames. And that's kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned Dubé because we were talking about him last month. I was throwing him under the bus at that point. Guys were saying, no, don't give up. It's too early. So I guess you're getting ready to throw him under the bus then, Greg, is what you're saying.
Oh, we'll see. He has time to come back. He has time. He's still young.
Yeah. Well, this is the Flames Faceoff, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. And don't forget to sign up for the Hockey Writers Morning Skate at morningskate.io so you don't miss the best daily newsletter on the planet, if I do say so myself as a Hockey Writers writer. And it's delivered right to your inbox every morning, every weekday morning at 8 a.m. sharp. And it will ensure that when you go into the office or the plant or wherever you're going, you're going to be the most informed guy around the table talking about hockey. So, Brett, I want to close off on that one. Your big disappointment and your biggest surprise. And also, I want to go back to something Colton said. A disappointment for him was Zadorov, but you wrote an article this week saying, you know what? He's a solid bottom six guy. So who's right here?
Yeah, I think it's really just a matter of opinion. I definitely agree with Colton there. Guy's got no foot speed. Like it's watching like a old timey train trying to get going when he winds up. But when he actually does get wound up, he kind of gets going, and he actually has okay numbers. Like he's not an offensive defenseman by any means, but he's been okay in his zone. But more so kind of in the last month, which is kind of what inspired me. In the first couple of months, he usually made one or two mistakes per game where I kind of, was, palming my forehead there. But just in the last month, he's been a lot better for sure. And I agree with the guys on Shillington there being a big, surprise. But I think I'll go a different way, just to change things up. And I'll say Adam Ruzicka finally getting into the lineup. They called him up quite a while ago. He wasn't really getting into games. And now he's, getting into the lineup consistently, and he scored a couple goals. So, that's for sure one of my big improvements. And I think I'll go with Greg there too on Dylan Dubé. I know another guy who's should have been primed to just sort of break out this season. He had that great playoff in the bubble, and it just kind of hasn't been going his way. So that's another guy you hope can kind of get it turned around before we get closer to playoffs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are all mentioned, and it's kind of hard to believe that. How many times did the Flames put him on waivers last year? I thought he was gone, but and nobody picked him up. But anyway, go figure. Well, let's move to the shootout round, and it is the All-Star weekend. Well, it's over now. It's Sunday night, but I'm going to further contribute to my image as an angry old man. I just absolutely hated some of the skills competitions. Particularly the Fountain Faceoff, where the players took a boat out to a rink in the middle of the what was it, the Baggio Fountain, Baggio Hotel Fountain.
Baggio,
yeah. I just thought it was glitzy and trashy and not in keeping with the decorum of hockey in the NHL. But anyway, that's my rant again. What do you guys think, Colton? Those skills competitions, did you love it or hate it?
I don't know. I think they're always trying to find new ways to make it better, but I agree with you. Like that particular event was really not TV worthy. I thought it was quite boring.
Yeah.
I thought some of the shootout stuff was fun. Like that Trevor Zegras thing was crazy. And I think that helps the game a lot. I think a lot of people see that and just really like the skills. So I think certain things like that are good, but there's still, I think, got to be some changes to really get the All-Star game worth tuning into. Even the game itself, I think, it really always tends to lack pace, and it's just I don't know. I don't ever really find it too exciting.
Yeah, Greg, what are your thoughts as a fellow old guy here, or I don't know, or maybe you're more hip than I am. Maybe you like it.
No, I'm not that hip. I was actually texting with my brother saying that whole thing at the Bellagio fountains was painful to watch. We were like, what is this? This is so boring, and they're not doing anything. And it was not my cup of tea. I give credit to the NHL for trying stuff, but I don't know. I think the skills stuff, I think people still like the hardest shot and the fastest skater and that kind of classic stuff. I think that stuff still gets the eyeballs, gets people, because I think people want to see the players succeed at something. Like I don't know, you put anybody trying to flip pucks in this fountain, like they could probably do as half as well as these pros are doing. So no, I wasn't a big fan of that at all.
Yeah.
No, thumbs down from this old guy too.
Okay, Brett, give us your take. What's the verdict?
I'll go contrary. I'll say you guys are the old guys yelling at the cloud. I think they weren't executed that great. I have to agree. Like they weren't super exciting, but I give it to the NHL for trying to do something different instead of just the same old recycled stuff. Because I actually quite liked the blackjack game, but I thought it was just the way they executed. They just kind of had the guys standing there. It was pre-recorded. There's no music in the background. They're kind of all just awkwardly standing there, sort of making small talk almost. So the execution wasn't great, but I thought it was kind of, fun to try something quite different. But yeah, I quite enjoy the skills competition more so than the actual All-Star game itself. Like Colton said, the Zegras goal and the whole breakaway challenge there was a lot of fun. So I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, I'll give Vegas a break. They've got to do something glitzy and trashy, right? I mean,
it's Vegas.
Yeah. Well, I'd be disappointed if they didn't include something like that. Well, look, let's turn to Olympic hockey. Do you care about Olympic hockey this year, given that for the men at least, there's no participation of the NHL? It's not best on best. I, for one, I'm not so interested. Colton, are you going to be dialing into it, or do you care about Olympic hockey, at least the men's?
I think it was disappointing to hear that, like, when the NHL players weren't going, but at the same time, I still do like it. I watched in 2018 and I enjoyed it. So for both the guys and girls, and I think the one thing this year is just the time zones and everything. It makes it a bit tougher to stay up and watch all that, but definitely to catch the highlights and then watch if Canada were to advance to the gold medal, or regardless of who's in it, I think that game for sure is one that I'd like to stay up and watch. So yeah, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I'll probably, if Canada's in the gold medal, I'll jump on the bandwagon for sure. Greg, what do you thought? Are you interested in it? You're going to be tuning in at I don't know when they'd be playing. Morning our time, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I remember, like you said, I'm an old guy, and I am an old guy. I remember when the Team Canada was playing in like Lillehammer and Torino, Italy, and they had guys like Eric Lindros, who was holding out from the NHL, and Paul Correa before he became an NHLer. And I remember they won a couple of, I think, silver medals at those Olympics for a bunch of non-NHLers. And I've always enjoyed watching the Olympic hockey, regardless of who's playing. And yes, best on best. When they have the pros there, it's great. They're super teams. Like it's dream teams. So that's obviously a lot more fun. But I have no problem watching these AHL, KHL guys. I have a player of note. My wife's second cousin is on Team Canada. He's a former NHLer, Jordan Wheel, who played for several seasons in various teams around the league. He's playing in the KHL in Kazakhstan this year. And so I'll be rooting for my wife's second cousin to get a gold medal, because there's no way he'd be on this team, otherwise. So I got a personal stake in this. So I'm watching him. I'm rooting for him.
Are you able to score any high-end carbon fiber sticks from him at all? Or
I don't know. I'm not sure he even knows who I am, so probably not. Probably not.
All right. And I did call you an old guy, but I say that with the utmost respect and affection, Greg. So
of course, us all guys got to stick together, I think.
Brett, what do you say? Are you going to be dialing in watching that Olympic hockey from start to finish, or?
I might not catch every game. I think I definitely want to, watch a couple. I think now there's NHLers that more so might be recording the game and then watching it when I get home from work the next day. But yeah, I mean, it's still interesting. It's still hockey at the end of the day. I've been watching some of the women's tournament, and although Canada's been routing a couple of the teams, I watched Japan and China today, and it was actually a really exciting game, and it went to overtime, and the 3-on-3 overtime was actually quite exciting. So yeah, I think I'll probably be watching the games. I really liked what I saw from Owen Power at the World Juniors and the World Championships, last almost a year ago now. So kind of interesting to watch those young guys, kind of see what they can do at the next level. So yeah, I think for sure I'll be tuning in, and especially the gold medal game for sure.
Yeah. How'd China look, by the way? I've never seen them play.
Well, I couldn't really tell, but I think they definitely had some import players. There was definitely not some Chinese names on that team, but yeah, it was a really good game, fairly fast paced, so it was quite interesting for sure.
All right. Well, you mentioned women's hockey, Brett. What country is going to win gold in the women's hockey?
I'm going to go Canada. I think that's the only logical decision here. I think from us.
Yeah, you're not. What about I don't know, Greg. What are your thoughts? Do you worry about the evil Americans here?
Well, yeah, it's usually a coin flip. Like if you look at the results since women's hockey became an Olympic sport, I think Canada has the edge, but not by much. Like the USA is always there's really two teams, and so I'll be rooting for Canada, but I wouldn't be surprised if US wins gold. They're a tough out. They're a tough out.
Okay, Colton, it's up to you, man. We got Canada, we got the USA. What side are you gonna come down on? No pressure.
Of course, I got to go with Canada, but I do like those games between those two, especially in the women's. Like that Canada-US rivalry is it's crazy. Like they truly hate each other, and it just makes for must-watch TV. So I'm excited to see them meet up, because I'm pretty confident that they will meet up in the gold medal game.
Yeah. Well, hey, while we're on it, I have to ask in the men's category, Colton, who's in the men's competition gold medal winner? Your prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I think going with Russia is the easy one for this. Whenever they don't send the NHL athletes, just because of the guys that come from the KHL, there's a lot of talent over there, that a lot of guys that could be playing in the NHL that just choose to stay there, just that like to stay home. So I think I would say Russia.
Russia. Greg, who are you predicting for the men's winner gold medal?
Yeah, that's all I've been reading, all these predictions and prophecies, and because the KHL is such a big deal in Europe, and so many Russians play. Like, I don't know anyone who's going to beat the Russians. If I was to give like a kind of a bold prediction of who might beat them, maybe some Scandinavian team like Sweden or Finland might give them a run.
Yeah, Brett,
or Canada. Who knows? Maybe Canada.
Well, I hope so. Hope so. Well, you never know. But yeah, I agree with you. Everything I've read, everybody's pointing to the Russians as the favorite. Brett, contrarian that you are, do you have a contrary point of view here on this question?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think Russia's, just because they have guys that play in that KHL that never came to the NHL, but they're really good in that KHL and probably could play in the NHL. But they decide to stay back in Russia, and so that's what definitely makes them difficult. So I kind of think it's going to come down to goaltending, and I really like Devin Levi for Canada, because he's got like a .950 save percentage in the NCAA right now, which is just outstanding. So I think Canada has a good team. It was either Sweden or Finland I thought had a decent goaltending tandems, which could maybe get them over the hump. But yeah, I think Russia's going to be a really difficult out for those teams.
Okay, well, we're going to be coming back to these predictions. You can count on it. So, but thank you, gentlemen. It's we've run out of time, unfortunately, but as always, it's been a great discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us again tonight. But before you go, in case we haven't convinced you with our first two plugs to sign up for that Morning Skate newsletter, if you sign up for the newsletter, you get to relive some of Wes McCauley's most legendary moments as an NHL referee. He's hilarious. And this in the newsletter is the kind of content that will put a smile on your face every day. So do subscribe to it, and we'll see you in 7 days. In the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.